July 19th at 5:40 PM at this time.
Okay, everyone mute their computers. We're good. Go ahead, sorry.
I'm gonna request our vice chair to give us the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Christina, roll call please. I'm sorry, posting of the agenda.
Yes, the agenda has been posted.
Thank you. Roll call please.
Commissioner Adams,
Present.
Behrman,
Present.
Burke,
Present.
Caldwell,
Present.
Corcoran,
Present.
Daga,
Here,
Delgado,
Here.
Fong, Hughes. Michaelis,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Clark, here, Hyde,
Here.
Swear, Wise, Wiseman,
here.
Young. Thank you. We have a quorum.
Thank you, Christina. At this time.
I didn't hear my name, Christina. Did you call me?
Oh, no, sorry, Feldman.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
David, this happens when you're in Europe or just traveling between airports and airports. Christina, nomination and election of officers for the fiscal year July, June 23, 24.
All right. No, one moment, please. The city clerk will be with us in one moment. Joe Adams, Aaron Tracy, Tracy's not here. Okay. Feldman and Berger not here.
Yeah, we got it first. Okay, so are we familiar with the rules to elect a chairperson, or I'll just read them.
Yes, please.
So I know some of you are here and are veterans. So the procedure this will proceed, we'll ask for a nomination. If only one person is nominated, the presiding officer, after ensuring that no member present wish to make any further nominations, simply declare the nomination is elected by unanimous consent. If there are multiple nominees, then the candidates are voted in the order in which they were nominated. And the first person to receive a majority will at that time become the person nominated. Do we have any questions in reference to how this process will work? No? Okay, so at this time, I'll open the floor for nominations for chairpersons. And Christina, you have to help me to identify all
Do we have anyone in the room that would like to make a nomination for chairman?
for chairman.
We nominate someone else.
Yeah, and it must be someone from Palm Springs.
Yes, okay, I nominate Al.
Do we have any other nominations for chairman?
Anyone on Zoom? We're having a little bit of technical difficulties here, so go ahead and speak up if you have a nomination on Zoom. No nominations from Zoom? We have a nomination for Octave Delta.
So we'll consider the nomination for chairman closed at this time. And we will welcome Mr. Octave Dada again as the chair of the airport commission. Congratulations.
Thank you all.
Do we have any nominees for the position of co-chair at this time?
Nominate Kevin Corcoran.
Kevin?
Do we have anyone on Zoom who would like to make a nomination for vice chairman?
Do we have any other nominees? We'll call again. Going once, going twice. No nominees further, so we will welcome Mr. Kevin Corcoran as the co-chair of this committee.
Thank you.
And that will close the nominations for chair and co-chair, and I'll leave you all to your business. With the $8.
Thank you all, and just to let you know that I'm honored to be back again as your chairman, and I'm honored that you will be our vice chair again. And one request to everyone that I would like to be called with my first name on it. So only one request. Don't want to be recognized as chairman or anything else.
The Grand Poobah or.
Having said that, I will at this time entertain a motion to accept the agenda that you have in front of you.
So,
Second.
We have a motion and a second, and we will have the roll call, right?
Yes, sir.
Please.
Commissioner Evans,
accept.
Behrman,
Accept.
Burke,
Accept.
Caldwell,
Accept.
Corcoran,
Accept.
Dago,
Yes.
Delgado,
Yes.
Beltman,
Yes,
Hughes, or sorry, Fong,
Accept.
Hughes. Hughes, you're muted. Kathleen, can you hear us?
Yes,
Hughes,
can you hear me now?
thank you. Michaelis,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Park, yes. Ty,
Aye.
Suero. Wise,
Yes.
Wiseman,
Yes.
Young,
Yes.
thank you.
Thank you, Christina. At this time, I will open up public comments. Is there anyone in person or on Zoom? And the public comment is limited to 3 minutes on any subject within the purview of the commission. Christina.
Yes, Paul Padillo has requested to speak in this evening's meeting. Paul, you may unmute yourself and speak at this time. Paul Padillo,
Yeah, Christina, I'm going to forgo that at this time. Thank you.
okay, thank you. Anyone else on Zoom? If you'd like to raise your virtual hand and speak in public comments at this time, please do so now. Here's for public comment. If you-
Seeing none, I will close public comments and entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes from the March meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Also.
Second. At this time, I would like to do the roll call, please.
Commissioner Adams,
Approve.
Behrman,
Approve.
Burke,
Yes.
Caldwell,
Approve.
Corcoran,
Abstain.
Dada,
Here.
Beltman,
yes,
Fong, Hughes,
Approve.
Michaelis,
Approve.
Miller,
Yes.
Park, abstain. Ty,
Aye.
where? White,
Abstain.
Wiseman,
Approved.
Young.
Abstain.
The minutes are,
I believe I must abstain because I was not.
if you read the minutes, you can vote.
I did read.
Okay, thank you. Minutes are approved, thank you.
Thank you all, and at this time, a brief introduction from all the new commissioners and welcome, and if you can give a little bio about yourself, we'll appreciate that. Daniel Caldwell.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Daniel Caldwell. By way of introduction, my wife and I, Carolyn, we lived in Palm Springs for about 11 years, and we have thoroughly enjoyed it. My background, I'm a structured settlement specialist. You're supposed to say, what is that? What is that? My clients are big insurance carriers and municipalities. When they settle bigger lawsuits, as opposed to giving a guy $10 million, we structure the amount and maybe give him, say, $25,000 a year. So he won't blow it all. And the beauty of that whole thing is that it's all tax-free. So my background is insurance and claims and mediations and all the bad stuff. So I like to say my skill set is to manage assets and liabilities and to make big bad problems go away. On a personal note, flying in and out of Palm Springs, we're on to something big here. That's why I'm so excited to be on the airport board, because many of our friends say, what an airport. And when I fly all over the country, I know this is a special airport. And I'm so happy to be on the cusp of something big, and I look forward to your leadership after that, and Mr. Cochran, and whatever I can do to make the leader of this airport, Mr. Barrett, look good. That makes the city look good. That makes Mr. Stiles look good. That makes the city council look good. And trust me, I'm not saying anything we don't know. There's something special going on here in Palm Springs. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We move on to Craig Fong.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jay Craig Fong. Everyone who knows me, friends and family, they call me Jay. The name is confusing on there, but everybody calls me Jay. I am a partially retired immigration lawyer. So I've been doing immigration work for about 40 years. And one of my main areas of interest for the airport is knowing that the city would like to expand its reach, expand the reach of the airport for international destinations or perhaps even international carriers. It's one of the areas I'd like to work on, help the city market itself, attract other carriers, things like that. On the land side, obviously, we don't currently have an immigration station. So it's an area that is a complex area, but I would love to be able to help out on that, bring what little expertise I have into that, as well as working on obviously baggage claim, because the international plane flies here, there's going to be 280 people aboard, and currently the system can't handle it. So I'd love to be able to help us work out that. And finally, on the air side, well, obviously the runway is one thing, and we're going to have larger planes landing here. But I'm just interested in helping out and making sure that the airport is responsive both to the needs of the people who live here, as well as the airlines that fly in and out. And I would love to see whether or not there's anything we can do to even out flights to go in and out during the low season as well as the high season. And I know there are problems with that, but I'd love to see that happen.
Thank you. We move on to from Coachella, Denise Delgado.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Denise Delgado from the city of Coachella. I'm a councilwoman there. I was elected in 2020. My day job is I teach. This last year I had the 6th graders, which they beat me up a bit. I'm not gonna lie, they beat me up. Other than that, I'm a single mom. I have one daughter who's a young adult already. And I'm happy to join this commission. So I'm very proud to be here and hope to meet you all in person at some point or another. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Delgado. We move on to Robert Berman from Indian Wells.
Hello, everybody. I haven't returned. I previously served on the airport commission 2 terms and served on the business development committee and operations over those 2 terms. I am fully retired now. I volunteer for a group called Friends of the Desert Mountains, which is located out at the visitor center on Highway 74. And I am now all over this valley doing land monitoring. So on properties that are owned thousands and thousands of acres in land conservancy that I monitor to make sure that it stays properly. My background is primarily law enforcement and primarily California Highway Patrol. I was in air operations in California Highway Patrol. Up in Northern California, I am a pilot and have been around airports forever. And I can say that I truly do love this airport. I came to this airport 20 years ago as an employee with the federal government, and was only here for a very short time before I transferred to San Diego. And there I served pretty much in the same capacity. I was a representative, law enforcement representative to the FBI Joint Terrorism Task Force, along with members of the Palm Springs Police Department, which I know many of. And basically, that's it.
Welcome again. We move on to Margaret Park.
Yes, hi, my name is Margaret Park, and I am the Chief Planning Officer for the Ogden County Anti-Abandonment Indians here in Palm Springs. I've had the privilege of working for their tribal government for the past 21 years, and so it's really a great place to work. And I'm here because this airport is on the reservation, Yolo County Indian Reservation, and then it would be a great opportunity to learn more about the airport and help advise the city as the facility grows and gets better and better. So I'm glad to be here.
Margaret, welcome. Anyone else do we have on the Zoom would like to say a word or so?
Those are all the commissioners that we have that have taken their vote.
We move on to item 9, discussion and action items, operations, property, then facilities committee update.
Commissioner Feldman, that would be your update.
We had our update at the last meeting and I have no further updates at this time.
Thank you. We move on to ad hoc design review committee, Vice Chair Connor.
So we did have another meeting on the ad hoc design committee. Those of you who are new, this is a subcommittee that is working on a concessions project. And we provide input on how that project is unfolding. And when there are issues on demand, we come together and chat about it. The only thing I can give you an update is that the original vision we had for the bar at the top of the Bono Center, we're calling Cactus to the Clouds. We originally visioned that to have projection systems that would project on the ceiling and on the tent that's at the top of that. Our most recent meeting was an update on that they can't find the resources and the technology to do that, especially during the day. So the designers have offered an alternative design that they're running with. So we can change colors on that big thing at night, but they're going to have different posts that will have some TV type monitors that we can use to promote local events, which was the original vision of projecting on the ceiling. We have another meeting scheduled, an update with both of them, with both Parodies and with the what do they call it? The Marshall, yeah, Marshall, in a couple of weeks. Victoria, did I miss anything?
Actually, we only have it with Parodies.
With Parodies?
Yep.
But we're good with the rest of
Everything
it.
else, yes, that's good.
And we're on, most importantly, we're on schedule.
We are a little on schedule. We have a little bit of some delays, but that's fine. They're to be expected. They're with like building permits that are across the street with City Hall. But that's probably the only thing that's kind of delaying things, like getting a demo permit and just going through the city's process. But we've kept them in the loop on things. The great thing is that we have our planner that we hired that has been aggressively pushing across the street for them to get, get our permits processed as quickly as possible. So there is a little bit of a change there, but it's not drastic, and we do have staff that's currently working on getting it moving.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. That's the summary from the ad hoc committee.
Just to add color to the projection thing, the situation is that basically the projection wouldn't be bright enough to see it during the daytime on those sails. So that's just the limitation part of it all.
Any other questions for our Vice Chair and Kevin? Seeing none, we move on to Marketing and Business Development Committee. Todd Burke.
Good evening, everyone. The Marketing and Business Development Committee met on the 12th, and Daniel provided some updates to the committee in 3 areas: brand, customer experience, and advertising. I'll just briefly go through them for you. Under the brand umbrella, phase 1 of the rollout started on the 10th and focused on the new look and feel of our website, social media and advertising. Also showed new navigator uniforms, in-terminal signage, a new media backdrop, as well as a new podium sign. Under the umbrella of customer experience, Daniel shared some really exciting new projects that he's exploring and in some cases already rolling out. An example of that would be Good Maps for visually impaired customers, a therapy dog program he'd like to explore, similar to what we know hospitals have in place to help reduce anxiety. Daniel's exploring a dementia-friendly certification for the airport, and a really cool one that I like called Lift Happens. It's a program that's going to begin next month, and it's essentially an online lost and found program. We learned in the committee meeting that lost and found currently takes up about 4 hours each day for our law enforcement officers at the airport. So this new program is going to really help to streamline the process and significantly help travelers reunite with their lost items. He's also exploring a ship at home program. Basically, if you show up at the TSA checkpoint with a prohibited item in your carry-on and your bag has already been checked, this will allow you to quickly address an envelope, a package, and ship it back to your home. And then finally, under advertising, Daniel just shared that Fuse, which is our new advertising partners, already brought some significant revenue opportunities for us. And we're pleased with their performance so far. And that is my report for the Marketing and Biz Development Committee.
Any questions for Todd Burke?
Todd, on the Fuse contract, are we changing any of the technology or the equipment used for advertising?
I'll let Daniel get into the nuts of that. We didn't really get into the technology. He did talk a little bit about some of the outfittings that will already start to appear around the terminal.
Any other questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Because I'm a newbie, could somebody explain to me what, I see phase 1 in your handout. Just briefly, what are phase 2 and phase 3 for marketing?
I believe Daniel will be updating that this evening in his report.
Thank you.
Thank you. Having said that, we move on to Daniel Meyer, our Marketing and Air Service update.
Yes. Can I start, Christina?
Yes, yeah.
There's that. There it is. Wait, that one. Oh, there you go. That's better. Okay, so let's see, start with the air service portion. So June total passenger count was 138,461. It's down about 2.9% compared to June 2022. So a lot of things going there factoring into that international travel rebound being the #1. Demand from US point of sale going to, I don't know why the screen is doing that up there.
It's our connection.
Oh, okay.
IT says unfortunately there's nothing we can do.
Okay.
But they can see fine on the other side.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so basically with COVID and the pandemic, there's domestic travel basically went through the roof, right? We benefited from that here locally, but now with international travel back open, there's a large rebound. There's a lot of demand for US point of sale going to Canada and especially to Europe. Other US airlines are also reporting lower bookings to Florida and other tourist locations. So it's nothing really just to do with Palm Springs itself. It's just people now are going international again before they couldn't, so. Looking ahead for our scheduled seats going up, we are still down August and September for the remainder of the summer compared to summer last year. However, in October and November, our seats begin to climb again. So we're up 4.4% This October compared to October last year, 1.2% on November. Also have down there a comparison of 2019. We're still significantly up compared to 2019 as well. Brand update, like Todd mentioned earlier, phase 1 started on July 10th. Was mostly your visible items, social media, advertising.
One second. Please mute your mics. Everyone on Zoom, please mute your mics. Thank you.
Okay. So things like our uniforms, office and maintenance working, we're in the process of getting their uniforms. We're in the process of replacing some of the in-terminal signage. Maybe you notice just even the rugs at the entry doors coming in have a new logo on those. I like to say the 90s clip art logo is gone. We have a new media backdrop for the first time. You see the photos up there on the screen on the right. So next time we have a press conference or a fun route announcement, we'll have that in the background. Got all kinds of fun, like a full media setup. So we'll have a fully branded setup going forward. The roadway banners out front still have old advertising, but those are in process. The purchase order was just issued for that yesterday. So those are being printed and should be delivered week after next. And our staff will go get those up. So hopefully we'll have them all up by end of August is kind of the goal. There will be a 3-phase approach. Phases 2 and 3 will start coming over the next month. So things like smaller things like getting more signage up, airport vehicles, you name it, quite a few different things. So it's a big, long laundry list of things to do, finding where maybe old logos are hidden around the property, where they may be. So working on that. And well, that's it. A short presentation.
Any questions for Daniel Meyer?
Yes.
Yes.
Could you sort of review again phase 2 and phase 3?
Well, I don't have the whole list in front of me, but it's a whole lot of steps. Different like putting decals on vehicles, things like that. Anything where our logo or branding may be, where old logo may be replacing, putting new stuff out there.
There's certain detail fill in.
Yeah, basically, yeah. It's prioritized based. Each phase is on priority. What we're going to do first one being all of those public facing things, like your advertising, the roadway banners, and then as we get further into the phases, it's more the minor things that people don't really notice as much. So.
And just to pick up my earlier question on the contract for advertising, the company that won the bid, are they doing anything new with technology or equipment?
Yeah, so we're replacing a lot of things. If you go down to baggage claim after the meeting, all the digital screens were removed by Lamar. The static screens would kind of just have a white blank canvas on them. So we'll be moving out and putting all new digital screens in there. They have some plan. It's going to be a phased approach over the next few months. All these static signs you see on the wall walking towards baggage claim, there's 5 static ones, they're old. They also, the way they stick out, they don't meet current ADA requirements, so they'll all be removed. It'll be replaced with just 3 digital screens on there. We're going to switch a lot of the static stuff to digital, so you can put more advertisers in there and rotate things through, also change things more quickly. Some of the old static ones, what I've noticed is that the materials in there would just start, especially on the courtyard, the heat would either start to kind of like just burn from the sun, or they should fall down and they're just not look good. So we're also exploring ways to see about retrofitting those with maybe screens or different ways. And so but also knowing the things we have going on with like construction, like say with the baggage claim project being accelerated, we may have to make some changes around, do some planning. So we are being flexible with them and planning on that. But a lot of it will be the next few months. You'll see a lot of new stuff coming in. Thanks.
Any other questions? Thank you, Daniel. And for the commissioner, our fiscal year 22-23, the only month that we were slightly down in traffic was this June, and only by 3%. And having said that, we had a record traffic at our airport, I believe 3.2 million, and hope the trend continues. Having said that, we move on to our financial bureau.
All right.
Great. Good evening. Thank you, Chairman Dada. My name is Victoria Carpenter. I'm the Airport Administration Manager for Palm Springs International Airport. I'm going to be reviewing the financial summary ending on June 30th, 2023. So this would be the end of our fiscal year. However, we are still continuing to post all the way through for the next 2 months. So we're not fully done with posting all of our revenues and our expenses and doing our journal entries. So this is just kind of a snapshot recap. And then when we reconvene in September, I'll give you an update as well as starting, do an update for the new fiscal year. One thing I do want to mention, Chairman Dada, is at the last meeting, you had asked a question about what is the airport doing with our cash? And so I know Kevin Hendrick, he answered that, and I am just going to confirm that I spoke with Christopher Mooney, who is now the city's finance director, and he confirmed that the city's cash is pooled, meaning it's in one portfolio managed by a third party, which is Chandler Asset Management. And the airport, it gets a quarterly interest allocation based on the returns that the portfolio yields. Right now, the yields are pretty good. They're between 3.8% to 4.95%. They've come down from their peak, so it has been better. However, it's still doing really, really good. And considering this is a cash investment that is with the city's investment policy. So we are included in that part there. So I wanted to kind of show everybody on the screen here that these are our total passengers by fiscal year. So we use these, and I use these with my numbers whenever I'm looking at projections and trying to figure out the budget or trying to see how well we're doing. So this is our total passengers. So in-plane passengers. And plane passengers are passengers that are departing the airport, and then it also includes deplane passengers, which are our arrivals. So for fiscal year 2023, we ended the year at 3.2 million passengers. You could see in fiscal year 2019, we were at 2.5 million passengers, which was the highest number of total passengers that we had since fiscal year 2020. And then because of the pandemic in fiscal year 2021, we were at 1.3 million total passengers, which was the lowest number of passengers for the airport's history. This kind of gives you a good idea to see how many enplanements and deplanements that we have by fiscal year. So you could see that they're pretty much the same. So whatever our total passengers are for the year, you just cut that in half. And that's typically what your in-plane passengers and what your deplane passengers are. So for our enplanements, we have enplanements 1.63 and our deplanements 1.61 for fiscal year 2023. This is just a quick snapshot of our net balance for each of our funds. So since we have a lot of new members, I'm gonna do a little bit of a detailed dive, but then it's not too deep, but it's just an overcap of what each of the funds are. So the airport has 4 different funds of like pots of money for us. Fund 405 is the airport's fund for the customer facility charges. The customer facility revenue is collected by the car rental concessionaires and remitted to the airport according to the state law to support future consolidated rental car facility project, a future contract. In March 2020, City Council approved a change in the collection methodology rate from $10 per transaction to $9 per day, up to 5 days maximum. So when you see that chart up there, you're going to see that really low one that's in fiscal year 2021, and then it gets a little bit higher in 2022. And then you'll see the big drastic jump in 2023 where we received a lot of revenue for that. So the budgeted net balance for the PFC fund is about CFC fund is about 5.4 million. The year ended with a surplus of 8.6 million, which is approximately 133% higher than fiscal year 2022. Fund 410 is the airport's passenger facility charge. PFC revenue consists of a $4.50 charge, which is actually net. It's only $4.39 that the airport gets after the airlines do an 11% deduction to process it, to get it over to us. It's paid by each ticketed passenger that boards an airplane at the airport. So PFCs are collected to finance eligible airport projects upon FAA approval. So the budgeted net balance for the PFC fund is about 4.3 million. The year ended with a surplus of 5.4 million, which is approximately 83% higher than fiscal year 2022. All right, so for Fund 415 tracks all of the revenues and expenditures for operating and maintaining the airport. The year-to-date revenue is about $53.5 million, which is around 130% of the budgeted $41 million, and it's about 62% more than prior year. So that's primarily contributed to the airport collecting about $5.9 million in CARES Act funds and about $9.3 million in ARPA funds, which we are not anticipating a lot more of that funding for future years. We actually exhausted all of our CARES grants, meaning we've drawn down the over $11 million that the FAA had given us for CARES grant funding. The federal relief grants account for about 37% of the revenues for this fiscal year. However, we do want to keep in mind that our key revenue generating accounts are the airport rental car, which we received a little bit over $12.1 million for our airport rental cars, which is the highest we've ever received in the history of time. Our lease parking is number 2 at 6.2 million. And then our terminal non-airline rentals is about 2.5 million. The expenditures year to date are about $25.4 million, which is about 75% of the budgeted $33.8 million, and it's about 11% more than prior fiscal year's actual expenses. Overall, the budgeted net balance is about 7.1. The year ended with a surplus of $28 million, which is about 11% higher than fiscal year 2022. The last fund that we have is the Airport Capital Project Fund, which tracks all of our large capital projects, and we also receive grant funding for these projects. You'll see that there isn't a budget for fiscal year 23 because we like to net those out to zero. So we will move money from the airport operation and maintenance fund to cover some of the expenses for our capital, but majority of it is covered by grants, federal grants. So right now it's showing that we ended with a deficit of about 800,000. However, we're still waiting to receive some grant drawdown funds, as well as doing our own internal journal entries to move money from that airport capital fund to that, from the airport operation and maintenance fund to the airport capital fund. That concludes my presentation. Does anybody have any questions?
Questions. So fiscal year ends June 30th.
That is correct. So from July 1, 2022 to June 30th, 2023.
Where was that? Makes sense to me.
Thank you.
And I'm very good.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
For the new members, you might point out that some of these funds, you can only use that money for certain projects, is that right?
That's correct. So like Fund 405 is dealing with funds that we would use for the consolidated rental car facility, or the PFC fund would be if on FAA approved projects. Yep. Thank you.
Any other questions for Ms. Carpenter? And thank you for sharing with the commissioners about the investment policy. Quick question. Do we know how long we can invest that? 3 months, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? Those funds.
I don't know. I can look into that again and get back to you. I'm sorry.
No worries. And having said that, the income, interest income, does that come back to the airport or it stays with the city?
It comes back to the airport.
And that interest could be used for?
So the interest just rolls up into the airport operation and maintenance. So it's included in that revenue that you see there, that 53 million.
Got it. Any other questions for Ms. Carpenter? Seeing none, we move on to Jeremy Keating, our concessions update.
All right. Well, Victoria spilled a little bit of the beans there earlier and stole my thunder, but things are moving really good. We, like Victoria explained, we have a really great team. Staff has been fantastic. So we got a really good team put together to kind of navigate the process because there are a lot of things going on behind the scenes. Both Perry's and MRG have been great to work with and continue to submit anything that we ask of them. I'm constantly on them. We have multiple meetings a week, so there's a lot of coordination going on with both of the vendors. So it's a really good thing. Since last meeting, we've had around 20 separate design packages that have come across our desks, and that's the management team and supervisors and airport planner that's reviewing all those and spending a lot of hours trying to review those, catch any questions, errors along the way before it gets to Harry to kind of approve and go through the process. So we're really busy reviewing all those design packages. And I know there's been a question or two about the schedule, and I'd like to kind of share a quick just synopsis of kind of what's expected coming forward here. If I can find it. Yeah, if everybody can see that, I don't know if it needs to be a little larger or not.
I think you, figured
Okay, it's a little small, so I apologize for that. I'm not sure if we're doing it larger.
over here, and I remember there.
A little bit of a lag, but anyway, here's the general kind of timeline of the kind of all the different locations, and you can kind of really see how everything's kind of happening there, in kind of organization. So you start to see the 10 kiosks go up with the barricade walls. You start to see some of the permanent spaces go in 9 cities. You start to get into In Motion, Cactus to Clouds, El Marisol, Las Palmas Oasis. Down the list throughout, kind of starting in late third quarter, fourth quarter, and then all the way into the end of the fourth quarter of 2024. So again, everything's flowing really nicely, and pretty much it.
Any question for Jeremy?
Maybe I'm gonna sound like a broken record, but I like to see that, this is what they happened, was the original projected and versus where we're at now. One document. And if this one would be like the original document line, they got.
Yeah, it's kind of a working document. There is a little bit of slippage. This is giving you really the completion dates here. A lot of that is really, based on numerous factors, whether it's in city permitting. We're going through some struggles with city permitting right now. They've not only is it new staff, but it's a brand new software. And so there's some issues there that we're working through. So that's where our airport planner has some connections and has been going over there, sitting at their desk for hours to kind of walk through the processes. So we're encountering some issues there. And then with El Marisol, most likely, I mean, I hate to say the bad word asbestos, but asbestos is probably going to be found there. We haven't seen the report yet, so that could cause some delays. So there is a little bit of slippage, but it's all what is expected with a construction project. So
Yeah.
we're trying not to kind of share that really, because there's going to be a little bit of that along the way that is just out of our control. So it's, there, again, it's slipping a little bit, but as you start to get into full design and make comments and really get into all the reviews and submittals that have to be done, it's moving as quickly as we really anticipated on our side. Some of the stoppage is unfortunately over at the city, so we're having to help that out a little bit.
Yeah, having slippage is expected, but it's just for us to, because we see this maybe every month or two, and so for us to remember what happened and understand and help if there was the sort of the last update we saw and this update now, you can see the little differences where it slipped and how.
Is there any risk or exposure to provide this in our monthly updates as part of the concessions package? Just so we know what the timing is. I know about all the issues with the city because every developer in the city is going crazy about what's happening over there. To Kevin's point, this is really interesting information for those of us who've been working on this for 3 years. It's really helpful to see it.
Right.
And if it was in our package, then we could talk about it, or maybe this time could be used with two or three things that are different. But to see this level of detail in our package would be helpful.
We should be able to provide it to you.
Yeah, I think
Because that is not an issue.
and we understand the slippage piece.
It's expected.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Seeing none, thank you, and we move on to our executive director.
Thank you, Tom. So I provided the projects report in writing, but one thing I did want to highlight that changed over the last 48 hours or so. We are moving a staff report to the city council for approval of a contract with Skanska for the expansion of the baggage claim. Now, to provide some history to that, back in February, we were informed that we were awarded a competitive grant for $5.7 million for renovation of the baggage claim. We had been working with the FAA for a while on that project and found out in May that we had a July 31st deadline to accept the grant. So we did a little bit of scrambling, switched delivery methods, went out to solicit for a contractor, and we selected that contractor this week. And so we would have loved to brought that to the commission earlier, but unfortunately with us being dark in August, we just didn't have the opportunity. So that's going directly to the council. So I just wanted to make you all aware of that particular issue. Other than that, the remainder of my report is in writing. Does anyone have quick questions on that?
This question on the baggage thing. So are they doing the design and the construction?
It is under construction manager at risk. So our on-call designer, currently Gensler, will be working on the design. They're very familiar with the airport, understand the issues with the history of the airport. So they're working on the design piece of it. And then the firm that we're bringing on is the construction management piece of it. So they'll be working with the designer to kind of value engineer this thing to make sense.
So years ago, when we talked about this, so it would be later in date in terms of when it would be done. There was discussion about moving all the all the car rental people into temporary facilities. And then there was some discussion around the baggage claim would actually be bigger and could accommodate things like golf bags in a different way, vertically instead of whatever. Have any of those, can you give us an update on all of what will happen with all that?
So the direction we've given to Gensler right now is to plan for a larger footprint, as well as the addition of, the removal of the current belts and introducing 4 carousels into the space. The rental car companies were unsure about it this time, but it looks like they may be moving to the north wall of baggage claim. And then we've asked them to look at adding restrooms in that area as well.
Any other questions regarding the grant and the construction?
On to the executive director report. So a couple of things on this one. There's one item that's not in writing that we'll discuss here in a second, but The first is, I know there was a request for an update on our new FTEs and what that looks like in terms of incorporation into the airport. So for the new members, we in the last adopted budget, the fiscal year 24-25 budget, the airport was authorized 49 additional FTEs. Some of those are split. About half of those will be hiring this year, the remainder in 2025, fiscal year 2025. And there were concerns about space planning, concerns about how do we onboard these people so quickly? How do we incorporate them into the organization without the organization falling apart? We're working on all of those things now. We kind of solved the space planning piece of it with additional offices and such, as well as some creative thinking with how we use the space that we currently have. In terms of the onboarding piece, there are a couple of things. So with those 49 positions, we hired a specialist, a human resources specialist specific to the airport. So that individual will report to the airport exclusively to facilitate our recruitments. Also, the City Human Resources Department has contracted or will be contracting soon for a consulting firm that works on recruitments with an emphasis on airport recruitments as well. So the idea is that between the city staff, between the firm, we'll be able to rapidly recruit and onboard the positions that we need. We'll have the space for them once they get here. Then it's just a matter of making sure that everybody's okay once they're onboarded. And then we're focusing on right now, capital development positions, operations, an accounting position for Victoria, and then 3 new fire captains. Any questions about that?
Any question from any of the commissioners on the Zoom?
I think we have one question.
How many employees do we currently have?
We are authorized 69 FTEs, and I think we are at 52 or 53 that are currently filled.
So just to give a little update on all the commissioners, that we lobbied very hard with our new city manager as well as our council to grant Harry and his team additional FTEs based on the competitive research we did regarding our competitive airport. And based on that, we were way below any of the competitive airports. And we were very blessed to get a HR director to be on the property to expedite.
Yeah, we were very fortunate, and I do appreciate the commission backing us up on our request, because that was half the battle, was getting a coalition behind us on that. So thank you all for that. The second thing I wanted to touch on, which is not in the report, and going a little bit back to Daniel's marketing report, is the airport right now has an opportunity to partner a little more closely with some of our community stakeholders. And one of those avenues is a potential sponsorship of the regional jet concourse, which would be a revenue generating agreement. It would involve some minor signage, and Daniel can speak to that here in a second, as well as some advertising on the passenger boarding bridges. But we toyed around with this for multiple weeks, deciding if this was a good pathway to go down, if this was what we wanted to really do. We think it's a good idea, given that we have some community partners that really do have close entrenched ties to the city. So we just wanted to bring that to the commission, just to kind of highlight that and see if there were any concerns. And so I'll turn it over to Daniel. Maybe he can speak a little bit more to that.
Yeah, we share real quick. Because I'm sharing, there's nothing there. I think there's a lag. Oh. There, I think it goes. Well, different color response, maybe those there. All right, so for those who have been on the commission, those who are new to the commission, earlier this year, we issued an RFP to find a new ad concessions partner, and we awarded that contract to Fuse Connect. They started on July 1. As part of the RFP, we opened up the entire airport campus to potential advertising or sponsorship locations, basically to increase our ad revenue and non-airline revenues that we need. So typically, we get a new advertisement within the airport. It's not something we usually bring to the commission, but because this thing is such, how would be pretty impactful, it involves, naming rights to one of the concourses. We want to kind of just get your feedback on it before we say yes to it. So, okay, a second ago. Well, hold on, this would move. Oh, there we go. Okay. So basically, just kind of what I just talked about the art, and it's not showing up there. Hold on a second, Ellen. There we go. All right, so the sponsor will receive naming rights to the RJ Concourse and logos and all jet bridges. So currently the Sonny Bono Concourse does have a name, the RJ Concourse. RJ stands for Regional Jet. Really creative, right? As you guys know, with our growth, we no longer have just regional jets down there. We have planes of all sizes, 737s, et cetera. So it doesn't really quite make sense to keep calling the RJ Concourse. So Fuse Connect has gone out and found a phenomenal community partner. It's not a corporation, not just some, not like Coors Light or something like that, but a community partner that's very ingrained in the community. I think it's an excellent, probably the only organization that would be a fit for this type of sponsorship. And they like to have naming rights to the RJ Concourse. We use their name, call it the whatever Concourse, just like we do the Sonny Bono Concourse. And they also like to put logos on all the jet bridges. So if you see here's an example of what one it would be. And these are actually pretty common at a lot of airports throughout the country. We don't have these here now. We've never had them to my knowledge, at least. But again, that's pretty impactful, pretty visual. People will see it if they're walking, around the airport where they can see the field, and also people, pulling up in the airplanes through the windows will be able to see that. Another location would be on the outside of the regional jet concourse. As we start to move in there, it flips over, put their logo right there, the name right there on that, I think it's ledger stone or stack stone wall right there as you lead into it. Right now, there's just a rock wall. There's nothing specific there for it. And then also they would put their name when it flips over here on the inside of the RJ concourse. Give it a second. There we go. Right there is where they put it as well. And so those are the three locations they would want to put their advertising on. And so again, typically advertising is not something that comes to the commission for approval. So if it's an add the baggage claim, it's not something typically you guys have to approve. But again, because of the impact of this and just the size of it, we want to gather your feedback. If you guys have any thoughts on that, if you'd be okay moving forward with this with the right community partner.
So how much?
Well, those details are still being worked out at the moment.
Is it $1 million? Is it $5 million?
We're definitely talking over $1 million now.
And would it be like for a 5-year thing or for life?
We talking for several years right now, but we haven't worked on it just yet. Yeah, but
it would be like a Sonny Bono thing that it just is forever.
Yeah, it would be a multi-year contract.
Okay.
Yeah.
Two questions, I guess. Karen, can you share with us whatever concerns that you all have sort of vetted and decided they are outraged about the likely potential benefit? And secondarily, any concern at all about, I mean, obviously not knowing who the prospective partner is, but any concern about reputational risk over the long haul? I mean, given the reputation for organizations change.
Yeah, I'll answer the latter question first. No concern at all there.
The reputation is excellent.
Okay. As to the first question, I think what we really wanted to make sure is that we wanted to highlight the benefits of the community, but we wanted to make sure that we were doing it in a way that was respectful to the community as well as to, the airport commission and the city council. And so our concern was that we don't just slap any logo on a wall. And if we did put up signage, if we did go down this pathway, what the boundaries of that looked like, what the rules looked like, if there were concerns that we needed to address ahead of such agreement. Before we started having serious conversations about it.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
So how are you going to socialize this with us, and when and how do you want to share it with the community?
I think what would happen is we'd have further discussions with the community partner. We would definitely bring this back to either the full commission or the marketing committee, whichever you all choose. And then likely that same day, if it's approved, make an announcement. Or would it just go to council? Does it need to go to council?
Okay. And this revenue would drop into the advertising budget.
Correct. Well, no, you like,
Question.
I use for advertising, or?
No, I just wonder, where does the revenue go?
Oh, it go into the, well, where's that?
The airport maintenance and operations fund.
Commissioner Miller, you had a question? Or who had a question? Sorry.
I had a question. What other airports do this now?
From our best knowledge, we would be the first to do naming rights. And I like being first.
Well, but I think my only caution would be several, but the first one is that no matter how you try, you're going to tie yourself, the airport is going to tie itself to that organization. And there's numerous examples of other municipal types of facilities in other cities that have done this, not an airport that I know of, but of other ones. And there are always people who like that organization or do not like that organization. And the airport then, whether it wants to or not, is tying itself to that organization, especially in the prominence in which you're talking about placing it. And you're running a risk of that organization outside of the scope of any control the airport has of that organization doing something that could make the airport and nothing that the airport did to make the airport look bad. And so you've got to proceed with this very, very cautiously and, you know, and really look at, you know, money is one thing and bringing money in, but a reputation is invaluable.
Can I answer, Christina?
And so, you know, bringing lots of money in may not be necessarily the best reason to do this. So,
Scott, the contract, we're writing in language that we can cancel if need be, if something goes awry.
Okay, Commissioner Bowman, you have a question, and then we're teetering on discussion here, so we're gonna need to continue with the agenda, and we will bring this item back as a discussion and action item. But Commissioner.
Yeah, I would just like to add, adding on to what Commissioner Miller said, I mean, I do think there needs to be some vetting process that includes members of the commission who have deep ties to the community, in addition to the employees of the airport. I think that is part of the reason why the commission exists, and it would concern me if it just comes back as an announcement. I also wonder about why this wouldn't be put up for some sort of bidding process, because as wonderful as this partner, community partner might be, maybe there's an even more wonderful one who's willing to pay twice as much for those rights. So it concerns me. This sounds like it's a little bit of an inside deal, and we're a public entity.
Yeah, I want to address and clarify a previous statement that I said. We would be bringing this back to the commission to discuss and debate. So this would not go without some input from the commission. I just want to clarify that.
I just have one other ask. It'd be interesting when you do that to bring your analysis of what the number is. I think the Acrisure sponsorship is something like $11 million a year. It'd be interesting just to see what your rationale is about, is this a $1 million, $2 million, or $11 million type of opportunity for someone, so rationale behind that. Sure.
Any other questions?
Has anyone, one last question, has anyone informally asked any member of the city council if they'd even entertained something like this?
We have spoken with the city manager about it, and he has been in coordination with the city council, yes.
Okay, because I hate to see all this invested and then the city council says, what in the world is happening? So, because, you know, they're the ones that are going to make the final decision.
Yes.
Commissioner Hong, you had a question?
Yes, would it be possible to see the language in the contract related to the bidding out? Like, you know, if such and such happens, and such and such happens, we have an option for you to say, we're going to bring this to an end.
I don't see necessarily a problem with that, but I think we'd have to vet that with our council.
I understand, I just wanted to make sure that somebody did look at that.
There's attorneys looking at all that on both sides, so you know, in our legal too.
Yeah, and I'll just say, you know, any contract that's going to be going through to commission and the city council will be vetted by legal. I'll probably be working on it. You know, I'm just the mystery man that sits here silently, but I'm Jeremy Holm with Bessemer and Krieger, who's a city attorney for Palm Springs. So, we'll be taking a look at it.
Any other questions?
And with that, that concludes my executive director report, unless there were questions about the rest of the report.
Any other questions on the remainder of the report? If not, we move on to commissioner's requested reports.
Yeah, if I admit brought something up at our marketing meeting, is I recorded Christine, or is it something I should mention again? That might be request, or it was more just an informational about silent airport tech.
Yeah, I think you should share it with the commission.
Oh, wait, I wasn't sure if that was because it's already been.
No, go ahead. I think that's.
Okay, just as you may be aware of, or your experience, many airports have silent airport operations going on. San Francisco just implemented it. They've tried to reduce the basic ambient noise, the loudspeaker noises, all the announcements through technology, whether it's through your phone, broadcasting, or pre-recorded announcements using your computer. It's a whole concept. So I just was aware if we've ever mentioned that. And when we had this discussion, it has been brought up. So just to make the full commission aware of it.
Thank you, Commissioner. Any other input? None, we move on to 14A, right? Christina?
Yeah, I just wanted to note that we've scheduled an ad hoc design review committee meeting for Wednesday, July 26th at 4:30. So that agenda will be going out to for that committee meeting. That was not listed on the future committee meetings because it had not been confirmed yet. And that's it for me.
Yes, also share the process with our new commissioners and how they can join things.
So for all the new commissioners, we would love to see you participate in, I believe we have 5 committees, right? 4. We had the sales and marketing, we had the noise committee, we had the operations committee, and we have the budget. Any other I'm missing?
We have 2 others, the ad hoc committee, and also the long-term planning ad hoc committee.
Well, that's a working group.
That's a working group, sorry, it's a working group.
So any of the new commissioners that would like to participate, can you email Christina?
Yeah, I'll be up. I need to update the contacts and the terms of the commissioners. I'll be sending that out soon to everyone so that you have everyone's email addresses on the commission. But please be mindful about the Brown Act. I sent that information in your welcome email. Make sure that you do not violate the Brown Act by contacting a majority of the commission if you do contact commissioners. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to contact me and we can discuss it before you make that communication.
It may be helpful if you have multiple choices. Like my first choice would be this, my second choice would be this, so that we can move people around if we have to and do the best to get people assigned the committee they want to be on.
And we would love any of you who want to participate and give your expertise and time. Having said that, entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
We do not need a motion to adjourn. We can adjourn.
Wow. So we will be done next month and our next meeting is September 20th at 5:30 p.m. again here as well as the Zoom. Thank you all for joining and have a great August.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
I just need to.